as we go along, and that's okay. But just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. So if everyone wants to keep their cameras off besides our 4 speakers today, great, and please keep your microphones on mute as well. That's just going to kind of help us with the technical difficulties as we go, just makes it a little bit smoother. And also, just to let you know, we will be recording this session. So if you need to, or sorry, if you don't want to be on camera, then just go ahead and keep your camera off, and that's the way we solve that problem. As we go along, we're going to do a little bit of a presentation, and then we have some time for questions and answers at the end. So if you have a question, go ahead and write it in the chat at the bottom, and we will get to it when we have a chance. Great, so I'm just going to double check that we have everybody in. Awesome. So great, yeah, we can go ahead and get started. And thank you all for joining us today. So as you may know, this is our Makers Making Change Presents Q&A on device design. And this is part of our webinar series that we're doing monthly now. And so feel free to check in on our Makers Making Change website and our events section to see what's coming up every month. And speakers, hello, I'm Courtney Cameron, and I am the regional coordinator for the Atlantic region here in Canada for Makers Making Change. So I'm located in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I serve sort of the east coast of Canada. And joining us, we have Mohammed, who is electrical engineer at Hedgehog Technologies, Hale, who's the marketing coordinator with Hedgehog Technologies, and Loretto, who is our New York City chapter co-leader with Makers Making Change. Great. So just a little bit of background before we get into a bit more of the technical stuff. Not me, don't worry. So we are a national not-for-profit, Canadian national not-for-profit organization called Neil Squire. Our work is focused on innovation, digital literacy, employment, and assistive technology. We often get asked the question, who is Neil Squire? So actually back in 1980, he was an individual who was in a car accident. As a result of that car accident, he lost the ability to use his arms, legs, and the ability to communicate well, verbally. So he had a relative by the name of Bill who was seeing him in the rehab hospital, looked at the situation. Bill had an engineering background and thought, there must be something we can come up with for Neil to help him communicate again. So they actually developed one of the first versions of a sip and puff device. Neil learned Morse code, and so his breath blasts, his sips and puffs of air, would register for dots and dashes, and he would then use Morse code to write his first messages. So that's how we all got started. The innovation piece is something that's pretty special to us, and we still do a lot of work through our research and development department on assistive technology. So we do multiple programs throughout our organization. I'm not going to go into detail on these programs today, but I'd just like to let you know that they're out there. So if any of you watching have any questions on this, feel free to reach out to me after and I can connect you with the right people for some of these programs. And of course, we always like to make sure that we thank our funders to help us do the work that we do. So this includes the Government of Canada, Google.org, the Winnipeg Foundation, the Vancouver Foundation, the Calgary Foundation, and the South Okanagan Community Foundation, as well as RBC and the Craig H. Nielsen Foundation. Yeah, so Makers Making Change, what is that? So Makers Making Change is a project that is all about connecting makers, so people who like to tinker, who like to design or come up with new ideas to create these innovative solutions to problems, connecting those people with persons with disabilities to help create and develop affordable open source technology. And actually today we're going to get into a really great example of this project in action.
Great. So I'll jump in here. So yeah, we're from Hedgehog Technologies. So we are an electrical engineering consulting firm. Our specialization is in risk management for safety critical systems. So a good example of that is basically any machine that can cause serious harm or death. We design, we make it safe. That can be world-class amusement rides. We've done renewable energy grids as well as military-grade submarines. So a nice little range, but kind of gives you an example there.
Great, thank you. And Loretto, do you want to go ahead and tell us about your New York City chapter?
Sure. I'm Loretto. I'm one of the co-chapter leaders, along with Farouk, who's here, and I think Emily might be here too. We started the local chapter a little while, and we were going to have our first meeting pre-shutdown with COVID. So we've been trying to find, local virtual ways to connect and also talk to like local disability communities. And Farouk, I don't know if you want to say a little bit about your background. I'm in OT, so I kind of try and connect with the disability community. And Farouk?
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet everyone. And just a quick intro, I'm professor in the Computer Engineering Technology Department of New York City College of Technology, which is part of the CUNY system in New York City. And I found out about Makers Making Change last year, and I teach some classes where students make projects. Capstone design project class is one, and other research projects many students were working on under my supervision. And some of those projects actually involved, some aspect of assistive technology or helping people with some type of disability. So when I found out about Makers Making Change, I was excited that being a maker myself, I wanted to get involved and get my students involved and see if I can get them to volunteer for some of the work. That's kind of going very slowly, as Loretto said, because of the pandemic. And it turns out that, teaching classes online now is actually a lot more work than I used to have, while teaching classes in person. So I'm still trying to kind of, get into this new routine, which has been going on for 6-7 months now, but still every day there's something new. But a large part of what I teach and do is making using computer technology. And so with Loretto's help, and we have maybe more, Emily is another chapter leader who joined recently, so we're trying to get the New York City chapter going slowly but steadily. Hopefully we'll have some more activities in the near future.
Yeah, and if you're in the area, find us on the forum. And
yeah, great. Thank you both. Awesome. So some of our goals of the workshop. So this is mainly to gain awareness around the daily challenges people with disabilities face, and also just to have you, as you go about your daily life, maybe look and think about how the world around you can become more accessible. We're also going to discover a low-cost assistive tech solution to help those with dementia. So because of where the design challenge came from, we do focus on dementia a bit with this, but there's obviously multiple applications that the door sensor can be used for and in multiple ways. So it's a really great way to also think about how you maybe could collaborate and use this for somebody else that you may know. We're going to also have the opportunity to ask Mohammed questions and get a little bit more insight on his device design. Loretto, do you want to give us a bit of overview about dementia and the design?
Right. So dementia can come in, might be due to a large variety of different disabilities. But in general, it affects the brain, and memory loss and disorientation is part of it. And one of the symptoms, especially earlier on, is wandering, and that's when a person with early stage dementia starts to wander out of their environment and may become like they don't know their AO times 3 or oriented or time or where they are, and so it becomes really difficult for caregivers because the person might not realize that they're lost and they don't know exactly where they are. And so it causes a lot of stress for both the person with dementia and for the caregiver.
Great, thanks. Yeah, and so just a little bit about you posting on the design challenge.
Yeah, so this actually comes from my own local need. I have a friend whose father is going through that, and he was leaving the house at all hours of the night, and we live in Brooklyn, and it's a very lovely neighborhood, but sometimes you don't want your elderly father walking around the streets late at night. So Makers Making Change has this great forum where you can post your design ideas. And I started working a little bit on it. I needed something kind of like super simple and that just indicates to the caregiver when the door is open. And so I started this project and I got stuck, and this was my call for help. And then I got help.
Great, great. Thank you. Yeah, so actually now I'm going to go ahead and pass the microphone over to the Hedgehogs. So Kale, you can go ahead and tell us how you guys got involved in this project.
Yeah, totally. It's a funny story actually. So an ex-Hedgehog actually moved over to Neil Squire, and I was the sort of came in as he was leaving. So we still kept in contact, and you know he'd bring up Makers Making Change, Neil Squire, and eventually got me to join the Lunch and Learns. So that's where I kind of learned more about the mission and saw how much it aligned with our company's values. So after attending a webinar with Mohammed, we sat together and we tried to see where his skills sort of matched with some of these design challenges to where we can offer a hand. That's where we saw Loretto's challenge. Mohammed, being an IoT enthusiast, instantly gravitated towards it. He knew the solution, he knew how he can help. So it was just a matter of coordinating, and here we are.
So yeah, thanks, Gil. I'm going to take over from here, and I'm going to go over two main things about the device. Number one, what does it do? What does the device do? And number two, how can you make this device at home? First thing, what does the device do? As Loretto already said that, hey, this device just gives the caregiver or anybody who's taking care of people who wander off a notification whenever a door opens. So as the description says, it's very simple. It's very low cost. You don't need to subscribe to monthly subscriptions, and it's easy to build. So yeah, that's the summary of what this device is. And can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So before we go into how it works, let's talk about what you need to make it at home. So for this device, the two most important things are on the left side of the screen over here. One is Node MCU Amica, and the second thing is a read sensor. I've actually kept the design as Loretto had posted it because she used such basic equipment, and I thought that, hey, there's no need to complicate it because people will be making it at home without a lot of expertise. So let's keep it simple. Let's keep it easy. So yeah, Node MCU and a read sensor. And then of course you need a computer and Wi-Fi for the device to connect to the server and send notifications. So yeah, next. So over here, we're going to talk about how the device actually works. So there are three main parts of this device. One is connected to the door. That is going to be our notification sender. So this is a read sensor, as I already told you about. This connects to the microcontroller. The microcontroller, this one is a little bit special. Microcontroller, it connects to the internet. So whenever the door opens or closes, the read sensor over here, the connection breaks and is completed. So it tells the microcontroller that, hey, the door has opened or closed. And this information is processed by the microcontroller, and it's sent over to the server using the internet. Now, server's job is very simple. It takes information and it forwards it to anything that's subscribed to it. So door opens, information's gathered, sent over to the server, and then the server can send it to you, me, or anybody who's subscribed to it. So yeah, the functionality is as simple as it says over here. So let's talk about how you can set this device at home. So for setting up, I've distributed in three parts. The first step is set up the server. The setting of the server is sort of important because the server talks to the door and the caregiver. So it's like a middleman, and it takes information and processes it and passes it through. So there are two ways of deploying or using a server. First is You grab a Raspberry Pi, you make your own server, which is fun, but it can become a little bit painful sometimes. Other option is if you just want a server to just get information and send it over, you can use already made and deployed servers online. The server that we've used over here is an Adafruit IO server. It's very easy to set up. All you have to do is go to their IO page and sign up. And once you've done so, can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, on the top right, you'll see Adafruit IO key. When you press that, you'll get your secret key. And that's it. The server setup, you get your secret key, and that secret key is more like a ticket for you to send messages and receive messages from the server. So don't share it to anybody, but keep it handy because we're going to use it twice when we're setting up the notifier and the device. So that's part number one, the server setup. Let's go to part number two. Part number two is setting up this device. So when we're setting up this device, it's distributed again into two parts. One is hardware, one is software. And third, which is the most important, the code. Don't worry about that. We've actually done the coding and it's going to be posted. It's already posted on the Makers Making Change forum with the instructions. So if I skip any step over here, or if I wasn't clear in anything, you can just go to the forum, grab the instructions. It says everything with pictures and text. So yeah, coming back to the presentation, how to set up the hardware. As the hardware setup is quite simple, there are two wires of a read sensor. You attach one to the ground and one to the D2 port over here. Again, D2 port is not fixed. We've programmed our codes in such a way that D2 sends the messages, receives the messages. But suppose your D2 port is not working for some reason, you can switch it to D3, or you can just change the code. It's really easy. You can just change the code and make it D4 or any port that is your favorite port. And when it comes to setting up the software, setting up the software is as simple as installing a simple any software and then opening the code. You install Arduino IDE. It's a compiler. It composes the code, and you can push it and upload it to the kit. Since it's not an Arduino, it's a third-party device. You'll have to set up the Arduino so that it talks to the kit. And the libraries, of course. Again, it's all in the instructions manual. You don't need to worry about this. If it's new to you, just the instructions are there, picture by picture. One thing that's really important for you to do when you open the code, can we go to the next slide, please? When you open the code, you'll see that there are 4 credentials that you'll have to change. First is the Wi-Fi password and the SSID. So the code is made in a way that it works. It should work for you, and it connects to your internet. So Wi-Fi ID, password, and the Adafruit IO key that we just got from the server, it has to be updated over here as well. So this device can send messages to your server. Yeah, and that's it. And then you can press the upload button and it will be uploaded to this guy over here. So that takes care of the server and the door part. And now we'll see how to set up the notification system. So for the notification system, the hard part is done. The 2 and 1 were actually the difficult part, where the notifications are being generated and are being sent to the server. Now it's just how you get the notification on your cell phone. For this, with Android devices, I only have Android devices. With Android devices, I like this app called MQTT Client. When configuring this app, you'll have to just give the credentials of the server, and then whenever there's a new message on the server, whenever the door opens, a message is generated. The message is actually pushed to the app, and you see, hey, the door has opened, the door is closed. Or as I said, it's an open source code. You can go in and change the code as you want. So right now it's just opening, but we have commented out the closing part. Again, it depends on the application as well. You can go change things, and instead of sending door open, door close, you can send out different strings. Yeah, so that's one way of doing it. Other way of doing it, suppose you don't have Android, you have an iOS device, then the other way around it is an application called IFTTT, and it's very handy in a way that it's an automation app. It does if this then that. So what happens whenever there is a message created on the server, it instead of sending you a notification, the message is sent to the IFTTT server, and then it sends you an email instead of notification. So yeah, that's 3 steps of how to set up your device at home. But the most important thing is testing and troubleshooting. And if everything is going well and you set up just according to the instructions and everything's working, you will see, you will get a notification like shown in this video. Can we play this video, please? So yeah, door opened, the circuit broke, the message went to the microcontroller, the message was sent over to the server via internet and to my cell phone. Even if you're not in the same network, if you're across the city, you should still get the notification, given that both parties are connected to the internet. So I opened the door, I set everything up, I didn't get the notification. What do I do now? Well, when you're programming, things like this happens. My favorite thing to do is open the serial monitor. That's the first thing I do. So it's a built-in feature in Arduino IDE. You go to Tools, you press serial monitor, and we've coded it in a way that if it connects to the Wi-Fi, it gives you a message. When it's attempting to do so, it will give you a message. When it connects to the server, it gives you a message. Whenever you open the read sensor, the circuit breaks, and it will give you a message that, hey, the door has opened. So if any of these things are not working well, you will know in the serial monitor that something's wrong, either the Wi-Fi password or the read sensor. So you know that, hey, maybe the read sensor is broken. Maybe I should try another port. Maybe I should just bypass the read sensor and try if I see if I can get a message or not. So yeah, these are the basic steps that I do. You are more than welcome to do so. Now, when the messages are being sent from your microcontroller to your server, you can open up io.adafruit.com. You can see that, hey, are the messages being sent over here. One thing that I have to say, that you can use any MQTT server over here. I don't know if I mentioned this or not. You can use any, if you've set up one at home, you can do that as well. Yeah, so you can see if the messages are there on the server, and if they're not being propagated to your phone, you can see that maybe the server and the phone is not talking to each other. So maybe check your credentials, check the internet service. But those are like the most common troubleshooting steps that I would do. Yeah, and I think that wraps up what the device is and how to set it up at your home. Yeah, back to you, Courtney.
Great, thank you so much for that. Very good. I understood most of it, which is about as good as it gets for me. So that's good. Yeah, so now we're going to go ahead and ask some questions of Mohammed. If anybody out there watching has any, you can go ahead and put them in the chat in the bottom. And if for whatever reason we can't get to your questions today, we will try to, just time, we'll see. We'll make sure we follow up with you as well. So you can go ahead and put any questions there. So Mohammed, first question, what's the difference between using this for Android versus iOS?
Yeah, so for Android versus iOS, I tried the MQTT app with Android and it works very well. Whenever there's a message on the server, it got pushed directly to my phone real time. So that was nice. But when we tried it with iOS, it was not working out very well because they've got their MQTT restrictions. I think I don't.
Yeah, I can answer a little bit of that too. There are on iOS. I mean, because I don't have Android, I have iOS. So I poked around for some MQTT apps, and there were some, but they don't trigger notifications, the apps themselves, or at least I couldn't find one, and I've tested a bunch. So they did connect to the server and they did download the messages, but the Apple actual like the apps didn't have notification features in them, which seems kind of interesting. So Apple is very special.
Yeah, so for that we just saw it like, hey, no worries, we'll figure out another way. So this IFTT app, it's very amazing how it just takes the control. We just give it the server credentials, and whenever there's a message being generated, it will create that message to email, and you can configure it to different conditions as well, that hey, only send me a message or email when the door opens, or do it in this time. So yeah, I found it very handy and very convenient. So that's what I would recommend. And that also works for Android and iOS both, because IFTT is available on both of the platforms. Yeah.
Great. Next question. What if there is no access to a cell phone for this? Are there other way to get notifications?
Yeah, so as I said when I was talking about troubleshooting, if you don't have a cell phone, so you won't get notification. This way you can go to io.adafruit.com or open up the server. If you're using any third-party server, you can open up the server, and it saves everything happening in real time. So if the door opened just now, it will save it with the timestamp and log and when it happened. So if you don't have your cell phone, don't worry. If you're at work and your cell phone's not with you or some condition, you can open up the web page and see real time what's happening. You won't get a notification, but at least it's better than not knowing.
Yeah. And kind of along that, we just got a question of, can you text to a landline? So would you be able to set that up?
I did see some options of generating text messages.
Okay.
But unfortunately, you'll have to subscribe to it, and it will be a different way out. One of the things that you can do is, again, try out IFTT, and they have this recipe in which whenever there's an MQTT message, it sends an email and an SMS. So you'll have to have a cell phone connected to the internet just for this purpose. So there is a way of doing it. It just needs some looking into.
And do you know what the usual cost for a subscription would be if you had to do that? Any guesses? It's okay if you don't.
Not from the top of my head.
Yeah, putting you on a little bit on the spot. With that.
I can, I mean, well, so I have it set that it actually goes to the IFTTT app notices, and it also gets sent to Slack, and Slack is free. And I think it can also work with Twilio, and that's like you can get a phone number for $1 a month.
Oh yeah,
cool,
nice.
Good.
Pretty low cost.
Yeah, great.
And Adafruit is free.
Great. Mohammed, how is the sensor powered? How do you suggest powering the sensor?
So it's 5 volts. This device that we're using is 5 volts VN. But there are 2 ways. Either you can use a phone charger that is providing you with 5 volts, or other way of doing is you can use those battery packs as well, which I think Loretto and I both tried out. So the battery packs which you actually use to power up your cell phone or charge your phone, you can use that. But since it's a battery, it will run out like in a day or a week. It depends which battery pack you're using, and then you'll have to recharge it again. So yeah, those
Great.
2 options are the most common ones.
Great. And another question from Suzanne was, where do you source the parts for this at? Or where did you source them at, I guess?
Where did I get them from?
Yep.
Yeah, so I just bought them off Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Okay, next question. Were there alternative ways to make this that you considered?
Yeah, there's so many different ways of achieving this goal. You can use different development boards. You can actually use a Raspberry Pi to do so. The reason why we stuck to this is these devices are very low cost. and very easy to get. As I said, they're available on Amazon, but you can actually use a computer to achieve this task as well. So if you've got internet connected to a sensor, a read sensor, you should be good to go.
Okay. And the next question is from JD. He said, how do you know if you need to use the brief SSL part in the Arduino code?
SSL part is like, it depends on the server. The server that you're sending messages to, if they have the SSL part enabled, then you can enable it. Like, I think Adafruit does both. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, Adafruit does both. If you have your own server and you only restrict it to SSL, then it will reject the other ones.
Okay. Next question. What skills do you need to do this? Can anyone make it, or what do you think?
I think it's not that hard. If you've already worked with some embedded controllers, then it's very easy for you. But even if you have not, if you just know how to use the computer and install softwares, then our instructions should provide you a very nice and easy guide on how to do step by step. And we've also included pictures. So if you know how to use a computer, install softwares, and open a file in a computer, then it should be easy for you as well.
Yeah, and just a great reminder for everyone, that's also why our Makers Making Change forum is so great, because if you do run into some roadblock along the way, you can go find this this category and go ahead and post and ask your questions, right? And the community will come together and help. So my next question, I'm actually going to ask Loretto. So a question came from Jake, and it was, has this system been set up and tested with the original requester? You can tell us about that.
Here's the social emotional part. Well, it's been on my door and it's been working lovely on my door, but the original requester is we're trying to broach the social emotional topic of how am I going to put this alarm on this door, and you know, I'm an adult, and you know, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff that's happening. So we're working on that part. But yeah, in theory, it's
okay. But you've been testing it in your house at least.
Yeah.
Great. So Mohammed, last question, perhaps for at least for at this moment. Tell us about what you thought of this, working on this project, and the outcome for you.
Yeah, it was great for me. Like, I love projects which include IoT and making new things, big or small. And now that my skills are actually helping somebody, it's just not for me. It's actually providing people who need some help, so some assistance. So it's a win-win, right? So I'm having fun and they're using the device. So it was really nice for me to work on this project.
Great. And Kale, how about you? Same question.
Yeah, so this specific project's kind of special to me because way back in the day, I used to sell cell phones, and I used to have a client that had dementia. And so his wife would come in and want just a phone that he can have in case he wanders and she can get a hold of him. And I remember that kind of stuck out to me. This was probably like 10, 12 years ago. And it always stuck out to me. But now when I came to this project, I was able to, you know, coordinate a solution and be able to get this rolled out. And it sort of came full circle to me because I kind of wish I can give this solution to that person back in the day, right? So I'm happy that this is a solution that's out there. It's open source. Anyone can use it. Anyone can improve it. And hopefully it helps lots of people.
Yeah, and Loretta, how about you? How was this working on this project with you, working with Hedgehog, using the forum, all of that? How was it?
I highly recommend it. I think it's really an amazing collaboration, and it's just you know, I feel like I have lots of lots of ideas, but not the skills, and so it's wonderful to be able to connect with people that that can help and have a skill. And I have to say that they were great listeners. You know, they really listened to what it was that I was trying to, that I was expressing the need for. And I think it was great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Glad to help.
And so we had one last question come up in the chat, and it was from Z, and she said, what are the next steps in the process for this device? I guess I can kind of answer that, unless maybe Mohammed might have an answer too, or maybe Loretto does. But our next steps are really just kind of testing and getting feedback and seeing where this device goes. There's lots of different ways that this device can be used or can be collaborated on, improved upon, or changed. So we're really open to seeing what that looks like. Anything to add from you two?
Yeah, like as we figured out how to make it work with an iOS device, and it's not sending you messages right away. It's actually being rerouted into an email. If somebody has a solution where they can generate notifications, not emails, using an MQTT protocol, they're more than welcome to help us and improve our product. So and that would be great, right? So instead of emails, we're getting push notifications in iOS. So yeah.
Great. And one more question, and this was from Jake. Are there other applications for this setup? Other ways that it could be used?
So the product, this device is very simple. It gives you a notification whenever the circuit breaks. Door opens, window opens. So you can actually use it in different ways as well. If you have somebody who leaves the fridge open, and so you can just change the code a little bit and be like, hey, if the door opened and it didn't close in the next 1 minute, it tells you that, hey, somebody left the fridge open again. So it has different applications according to how you think you need it, and how you can just change it in a couple of lines of code. So I would say it has potential. You should not restrict it to just a door opener. Definitely, yeah.
So you'll know who went in the cookie jar.
Or that.
Yeah, exactly. Or it could also be like an alert, because it doesn't have to be a read switch. It could be any kind of it could be like a regular, like a large button if it's a motor issue that sends like an emergency alert to somebody, or
yeah. Yeah, we actually had some suggestions in the chat as well. Anti-burglar for window, or if something important was moved. And somebody also mentioned working with kids with autism, because sometimes they do elopement as well. So that could also have that kind of, because Mohammed, you have the read sensor there. It's really just any time you want to know when those two parts disconnect, right? So there's lots and lots of ways that could be used.
Like this, it's just like a simple switch, but instead of turning it on and off, it's like this.
Yeah.
And as I was talking about the microcontroller, the development board over here, you can actually, it has ports. So if you don't want to send a notification and you just want to connect an alarm or a light, it will do that as well. So one port is used to take in signal, the other one can give signal out. So yeah, you can change the code, you can look into the design, you can upgrade it. It's all open source.
Awesome. Great. Well, that looks like it's all of our questions. I think I got most of mine in too. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We're going to go put up the next slide that has some of our contact information there. So this is the contact information for all of our regional coordinators throughout Canada. If you are joining us from outside Canada, great. Hi. But this project can also happen for you as well. Like Loretto, who runs it in New York City. So more than happy to reach out to me. So I'm Courtney Cameron, so courtneyc@neilsquire.ca. Feel free to reach out should anybody have any questions. And I want to thank our wonderful speakers and presenters that we had today. Mohammed and Kale from Hedgehog Technologies, thank you so much. Not just for your time today, but for taking this project on. You're wonderful to work with, and I think the design seems great to me. I know very little, but it looks like it's wonderful. And Loretto, thank you so much for joining us today as well, and for the original idea, so all this could happen. We could figure out some needs for anybody who needs it. Again, feel free to reach out to us should you have anything. I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat should you need that. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.